is it? No, he's still going. Oh, how about that? How about that?
Carried on into the penalty area. Here he is. And then Giroud. What a goal. Brilliantly worked. Fantastically finished.
Here's Ramsey. And Alexis Sanchez. Great footwork. 3-0. Liverpool blown away. A 3-goal, 8-minute Arsenal blast. Alexis blocked by Newcastle defender. Still not cleared. Wow, what a volley. Where others failed, Ozil has succeeded. Well done, Arteta. Plenty of bit here. Yes! Arsenal have their breakthrough. Mikel Arteta. They deserve it. Oh, they're behind again. It's amazing. It's Aaron Ramsey. That's the response of Arsenal. Andy Iwobi, nicely done. Brilliantly done. Bayern Walcott. Sensational Arsenal goal. Is that a handball? No. Nothing the play can do. Great, what a goal! Arsenal have made it 3-0. Jack Wilshere with an absolute thunderbolt.
Hello and welcome to the Clock End Talk, an Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Tej. You can get me at Guna Tej. You can get the show at The Clock End Talk. Plenty of news has happened. Like we've done a couple of recordings last week regarding the Super League. It was happening. It's not happening. It's all over. A couple of teams are still saying we're in it. So we'll have a chat about that. Stan Kroenke comes out and says he's not going to sell any shares of Arsenal. So we'll also discuss that. But before we get into that, I'll also be discussing the Everton game as well. A loss that has happened. They've obviously beaten us twice this season. But have we thrown the Premier League? But before we get into all that, I'll bring in Tony. How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. Had some obviously positive comments from our show last week, so I've got a bit of a backache from carrying the show, but I've recovered just in time and passed the fitness test, and here I am.
Addy, he may be joining us later. I haven't heard from Jack. Schwinn's asleep in India somewhere. I actually was talking to Schwinn during the week, and shout out to all our listeners in India. And I did a little bit of Twitter Spaces just to test that out, and I was actually speaking to a nice chap in India. So shout out to all you guys, and hope you are all safe over there because I'm hearing things aren't looking too good. I don't know if you've heard, Tony, but COVID has struck there big time.
Yeah, their numbers are insane, and like I read that what they're reporting is like 10 times less than what it actually is. And I asked Schwinn, like, is that true, or is it obviously European media are going sort of over the top? And he said 10 is being generous. He said it could be up to 30 or 40 times. So when we read like say 100 have died, he said, yeah, it's probably more like 3,000, 4,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I read earlier that every hour there's another 150 people being pronounced dead. So, I mean, over the day, that's still a lot. But I mean, it's like 3,000 and we was over 1,000 here. So when you compare the size of the country, it's not, I mean, obviously it is horrendous, but it's not hugely more than it was here. But if that's 30 or 40 times underreported, you're talking like 100,000 a day nearly. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. And actually, I remember when all this COVID broke, nearly 2 years ago now, I think. And I think we were discussing with Schwinn at the time, touch wood that it didn't hit India because it's just a country that is so populated too, isn't it? Like, and a lot of, it's just crazy to think. So, shout out to all you guys in India and hope you're safe and, doing what you do to get over these hard, tough times. But anyway, Tony, where are we going to kick off here with Arsenal? Are we going to go the Super League? Do you want to go Everton game first?
I don't think we need to touch on the Super League. We've done 2 shows on it last week, once when it was in full swing and then once when it had been cancelled, essentially. So I don't really care where we start, but I don't think we really need to talk about the Super League too much.
I just wanted to ask you quickly, and look, we won't harp on it, but I just wanted to say, look, do you think it's still a little bit a go-ahead, whether that be in a year's time, 2 years down the track? Is it still alive or is it dead, done and dusted?
Well, it would be very interesting to see what the contracts they actually signed were, because I'd be amazed if they all announced it on a contract that was so flimsy they could just go, "Oh, by the way, we've changed our mind," and everything was okay. So that would be interesting. I don't know. I think it's one of them things. It will come around again, but the issue is the fans are so against it, and I don't think fans are ever going to be for it. And that's where there's no point having a new product that's going to generate you fortunes if you're losing fortunes of not only ticket sales but merchandising and sponsorships will go down because fans aren't as engaged. And then also like little things that people don't think of, contracts inside the ground for like your beer or your food in the ground, they'll go down as well. I know it's minor in comparison, but they can't deal with all of these things going down. So I think the fans have made their voice heard. It does make it very difficult to do again. But I said this at the time, UEFA's new plans are not too far off what the Super League is. The only
I agree. It's absolutely.
I mean, I said this on our first show when it looked like the Super League was in full swing, and I said I was against it, but fans need to have the same energy they had against the Super League with UEFA, because UEFA's plans are a joke. And even if you look back, I think the last 2 or 3 years, the 2 bonus spaces would have gone to English teams anyway. So all of the big 6, if you want to, like, so to speak, would have been in the Champions League. Like this year, obviously it was United, Chelsea, Liverpool and City, and then the 2 UEFA coefficient spaces would have gone to Arsenal and Tottenham. So are the big 6 in theory not half in anyway? And look, we finished what, 9th, 10th? I don't even know where we finished last year. 8th, 9th, 10th, something. I don't know.
Round that, yeah.
Yeah, but so then there would have been teams that, and I think Tottenham finished like 6th or 7th. So there would have been teams that finished 5th, like Leicester last year finished 5th, but Arsenal and Tottenham would have got in the Champions League ahead of them. Like, so this UEFA system is just stupid. I said when we were talking about the Super League that I thought they would find a middle ground somewhere, and that UEFA plan don't look far off it. It's just interesting now with the money, because the teams aren't going to want to play these extra games if they're not getting heavily incentivized for it. And that's always been the problem with UEFA. They don't pay the teams enough. And now this, with the Super League plan coming out, I'd imagine that the revenue that teams are going to get is going to go up. So then, yeah, it's not far off a Super League. I know there's some key aspects, like you can qualify for it and whatnot, but beyond that, it ain't too far off.
Obviously, you talk about the fans, and that'll move us to our next topic. And like you said, I don't want to harp on about this Super League, so let's bury that and see what happens now. But you talk about the fans, and what I'm going to discuss is Stan Kroenke. He's come out today or yesterday, I'm not sure when it was, but I seen an article getting floated around that he must have done an interview with somebody or something that, and they said the interest is with Arsenal, and there is no way basically they're ever going to sell any stake or get rid of Arsenal. They're there for the future. They're there to see this type of succeed. Then on the other hand, you've got this billionaire bloke who owns Spotify who's come out, and it was pretty funny actually, because he actually come out on Twitter. And you actually said on the podcast, I think it was last week, it's not like, we're going to come out on Twitter and say it's for sale. And it was so bloody ironic. I was like, wow.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
speculation. Wow.
Well, I was right. Buyers. Yeah. So look, if you're looking for profile, so Dangote has done it loads of times, come out on essentially Twitter or through the media and said, I'm interested, I'm going to buy Arsenal. So you can put your interest to buy publicly, because that's how you get the backing. So now this time last week, most Arsenal fans hadn't heard of Daniel Ek, I think his name is. Now he's a household name. So when you're looking to buy, you put it out there publicly because you want that support and the backing of the fans. When you're looking to sell, you don't say shit. Like the Kroenkes aren't going to come out and this is what I said, they're not going to come and put it for sale on Twitter. But if you're looking to buy something, and especially where the position is that fans don't like Kroenke, then you do put it out there like that to try and get to get
bit of
people on your
interest.
side and put more pressure on Kroenkes, or the current owners, obviously being Kroenkes in our case.
Now, where I want to touch on the fans is, and no disrespect to any fan out there, and you guys in the UK, look, he's rallied well last game. Before the Everton game, there was a massive turn up in protest against Stan. However, I put it to you guys in the chat yesterday. I was talking to you and Schwinn regarding this guy. Right, we don't know much about him. Right, we know Stan is massive on sports. You know, he can manage to keep teams afloat, I suppose. Now, we have a bloke who's the owner of Spotify who, no disrespect to him, but probably doesn't know a lot about football. I don't even know if he, gets much time to watch football or what the life
this
of
is
a billionaire
this is where the PR offensive come in, because he said, and look, there's no way of verifying this, but he said he's a massive Arsenal fan and he watches every game. And then there's also been leaks, and I say leaks because they definitely come from him, that at occasion he's even suspended board meetings at Spotify to watch an Arsenal game and then gone back to them after. Is there any way of knowing, is that true? No. Is it true? Probably not, let's be honest. But that's the PR he's putting out there.
Now, is it the better the devil you know or the devil you don't? I guess that's where I'm coming from. Is the grass greener on the other side?
I can't see how it's going to be a million miles different, to be honest. Well, I'm going to start off, first of all, I don't think it will happen. Kroenkes have come out today and said they're not going to sell. I don't take much notice of that, because if you don't have to sell something, you don't advertise it, because that's how you get the best price. Obviously, if you're selling your car, for example, and you have to sell it, you need the money, or you're getting a new car, then you advertise it and you advertise it for a certain price, and you either get that or a little bit lower. If you don't need to sell your car, you don't advertise it, and then people can come to you with offers, and you're not gonna say, oh yeah, I'm well up for selling this, because then the value automatically goes down. I do think they'd sell it for the right price, but I just don't think this is going to happen. There's been a hell of a lot of PR moves. We're going to have fan representation on the board, which I think is a terrible idea. Even as a fan, I think it's a horrendous idea. I don't know why people think it's a good idea. We're going to have ex-players on the board, and at the end of the day, they were great players. Some of them have gone well into punditry and management, but what do they know about the running of a club as a board member? Or are they just there to look pretty and say, look, we've got your interest at heart because Thierry Henry's on the board?
Well, that's where I was coming from a little bit. And I actually, you surprised me with your comments there now, because talking to you yesterday, I thought that you were a little bit for this movement. So that surprised me. And I said, we'll save it for the podcast because it could be an interesting show.
Look, I'm not against it. I don't think Stan's been a very good owner. And when you say, is it better the devil you know, can this guy be any worse or much worse? Probably not, because the thing you want from your owner is to feel like they care, essentially. This is the difference. But this is where I think the Abramovich and the Mansours have done well at Chelsea and City. Yes, they've pumped stupid amounts of money in, but they seem to care. They're there. I mean, Manchester, obviously, this won't mean much to you, but the City is a different place now to what it was when they brought Man City. Like, they've basically developed half of Manchester. And look, Abramovich is always at Chelsea, seen celebrating, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you just want to feel like you care. Where on the flip side, the Glazers have spent, look, whether the money's borrowed or not is neither here nor there. The Glazers have spent a hell of a lot of money on Man United, if you look at like their transfers. But it's just the impression they don't care. They don't really know what's going on, and it is just a business to them. And this is where I think a lot of the Daniel Ek propaganda comes into it, because as I said, he's an Arsenal fan. He has been since he was a kid. He's going to get ex-players on the board and fan representation on the board. It just gives the image of someone that cares. And look, maybe he would. I don't know the guy. As I said, I didn't know he existed this time last week. But so, as I said, is it better the devil you know? I can't say. I just can't see the new devil being any worse. Like, how do you get worse from Kroenke, who's done nothing?
Well,
to be honest, I don't think Kroenke's done a grave amount wrong, if I'm honest.
No, he has. He hasn't done
anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. He hasn't done any. It's really hard, right? Because Look, we'll break it down a little bit. We wanted big players. We wanted big players. So he put blokes in charge to buy big players. We got an Aubameyang. We got a Lacazette. We got I won't go back as Ozil and Sanchez, but we'll go recently. There's been big names there. Pepe. Look, there's massive names, and he spent, whether he spent it or the club spent it, the club have spent what in the last 2 or 3 seasons. I'm not overly sure, but at least 100 million each window.
Yeah, I mean, the table came out last week. I think it was between 2008 and 2018. Our owner investment was 0, and then beyond then, even if he has paid out of his pocket for every player, which we know he hasn't, especially when you've got like, so say Pepe, he's not really. We know that deal's financed over installments, so that's not come out of his pocket. But the Partey money is believed to have been paid by him. We don't know if that's true, but that's the common theory. So even if he has spent that 45 million, that's still 45 million investment over 13 years. So in essence, he's owned this business for 13 years. It's probably doubled or trebled.
Are you going that far back, Tony? Because he only took over 3 years ago.
But even so, let's take it back. Let's take it back 3 years and say he spent 45 million on a business that, as I said, is probably doubled in the value since he brought it, and he spent he spent 15 million a season over that, like on average. That's not investment. Like your standard business would take that as an investment, not especially when you look at the rivals and who do you want to consider our rivals? We're not rivals with Liverpool. We're not rivals with City. You could say Man United are rivals, or should be.
I'd probably say West Ham.
No, they're not. Like, I'm talking about on a football club level, not what they're doing.
Okay. I thought it meant behind the scenes, like an owner who you're expecting investment from. Okay.
No, I mean, like in terms of football. So look, Man United are always going to spend more than us, but we should be rivaling them on the pitch. And you look at their investment, you look at ours, and it's chalk and cheese. Even Liverpool 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, you'd have said, Arsenal and Liverpool, they're not too far apart. I think the first year we missed out on Champions League, they got it in front of us by a point. We came 5th, and they came 4th. But then since then, they went and brought Alisson, Van Dijk, Keita. And I know they got a lot of money for Coutinho, but the amount of players they've brought, and what we've spent, they're not in the same league.
MAA Gunners listening live, he said Everton, Leicester. I would probably agree with maybe Everton.
I mean, Everton has spent tons as well, but Everton has spent tons as well. They got a new owner. Leicester have just done very well in the transfer market, to be honest. They've signed a lot of very good sort of £30 million players. Yeah.
They seem to, they do. They've done really well. So I guess, you're looking, you're saying we need to see more investment from Stan.
I'm not going to be one of these that just calls in for someone to come and spend money constantly, because I know that's not how it's going to work. But it's ambition more than investment, and the two can go hand in hand. But you can't look at our team and think Stan's really going to try and win stuff with that. Like, even like I mean, I know we're going to go back to them in a few weeks, but we done our predictions for the season at the end of this window, and I didn't think we were going to come top 4. So where's Partey is a good signing, especially the name. He's maybe not been as good as we thought the name would be, but that what was the aim of that? We can maybe just sneak into top 4. Like, come on. And then what else did we spend that summer? Like, as then we made the statement with Partey, but the rest of the window was a bit okay.
Yeah, it was tying up a couple of loose ends, getting rid of the wage budget, and be honest, expecting more moves, I guess. Like how Ozil's been, draining us there for a long time, so that was a good thing. And now it's reported, I read during the week, that we're apparently still paying some wages or something.
But I mean, either way, they're out, so they're saving money from the budget, not putting into it. So as I said, I think ambition is more what we want to see. And look, and obviously at the moment this squad are are probably not going to get us to top four. I don't mean this season. I just mean in general. Obviously, they're not going to get it this season. But then, as I said, you have to. I've always said you have to invest at least once. Like I personally don't expect someone to come in and throw hundreds of millions every season, but I think you have to do that once to then achieve that aim, and then you can stabilize, like Liverpool did. Within the space of a year, they signed Van Dijk and Alisson and Keita.
But this is the major problem, and this is the major problem I feel with football in general, is especially in the UK, is teams are outspending. The investment is outspending what they're actually making. Like, where are we going to be in 5 years down the track?
It's speculate to accumulate, isn't it?
Yeah, but is it outgrowing growth? Demand, is the demand outgrowing the growth? Like, it's. Yeah,
potentially, but you can't afford to. You can stand on your moral high ground and go for 5 years. We're going to be self-sufficient while everyone else is blowing themselves up the arse. But then in 5 years, you're 17th in the table. And
yeah, that's the worry, isn't it? Like,
well,
but are these players worth too much? Are these players worth too much? Like, I know a salary cap is not the answer, but are these players worth, like, Pepe, $72 million, and no disrespect to the bloke. Look, he was a wanted man at the time, but I don't know, 72.
I don't think. Look, we can sit here and say this player's overvalued, this player's undervalued. Everything in life is worth what someone's willing to pay for it, and what someone else is willing to sell it for. And that's your be all and end all. Is Harry Maguire an £80 million player? Not as long as I've got a hole in my own.
No way. Yeah.
Someone was willing to pay that, and someone else was willing to accept that offer, and that's what it is. I think player value is. I think people. It always annoys me when people compare that. If they always do it with someone cheap as well. If Liverpool got Robertson for $7 million, that means you should be getting a Tierney for $10 million. And I'm
look, we know it. And we know it's about how good the negotiation is between clubs, and how good he can get for that player and so on. But what I'm getting at is then on the other hand, you have these clubs who are willing to jump so quickly into the hot frying pan for a Super League because they were guaranteed £400 million the first season, and put their hands up and say, well, hey, we're fucking struggling here. Barcelona, Real Madrid are still saying it.
Yeah, but I mean, no, but the league, when I actually read them the other day, but I forgot most of them. When you read the league, the breakdown of the Super League, it was basically just saving Real Madrid and Barcelona's arses with a bit of an upside. The Italian sides were getting fuck all. So
really, okay,
yeah, the breakdown in finances was really, it was like certain teams get, and all of the Premier League sides are in the top tier. So say it was like 8 teams get. I'm going to try and do quick maths. Say, for example, 8% of what's made, and that was Real Madrid, Barcelona, and the 6 English teams. And then the next 3 teams, or the next 2 teams, get X amount that was less, and then 2 teams, and I think the bottom was like 3 or 4%, and that was Inter and AC.
Wasn't a bank backing it or something?
Yeah, JP Morgan investment fund.
Yeah, weren't they were putting the money up front, weren't they, or something?
Well, from what I read, up front. So from what I read, it wasn't like a sponsorship; it was insurance. So if this money isn't made, so we expect you to make this from TV deals and blah blah blah, and maybe in the first couple of years you won't, and we'll, as I said, we'll cover that. So if you only make 3 billion, and you've said it's going to be 4. We'll cover that. As I said, it was more of an insurance. It wasn't
taking the risk. Yeah. They're taking the risk that was going to work for them, and it probably would have worked, I guess.
Yeah, but in terms of you saying, clubs are saying, we need it because we're bollocks. Look, the clubs weren't saying it. The owners were saying it, and let's be honest, what owner
they just want more money?
Going to turn exactly what any business you're going to take that, and they read the room horribly in terms of fans and what people thought, but. In terms of for the business, if you're only talking about for the business, we would all do it.
So obviously, okay. So on the other hand, we're obviously this guy from Spotify, going back to him now, and I said to you guys yesterday, I follow the Newcastle Knights in the NRL. Look, I know this is a football podcast and only a few Aussies listen, but they would know that we had a guy, Nathan Tinkler, who bought Newcastle Knights and spent a lot of money into it. You know, we got Wayne Bennett as the best coach in the world, and at the time, and we'll probably arguably still is. You know, and we bought all these players, and I think we got a top 4 finish that year, and we got into the semi-finals. But that was that year, you know. And Nathan Tinkler's a fan, so he was a Newcastle Knights fan, and everyone who knows and follows NRL would know that bubble busted and he busted. I'm not saying this guy at Spotify is going to bust because he's got a lot more fucking money than us.
Well, but it's not even just having more money. That just sounds like terrible business. Obviously, I don't know the model.
It was shocking, absolutely shocking,
yeah,
and that's what I'm worried.
It
was fans buying it.
Yeah, but that's where it's not comparable. I mean, you've got to look at something being run as a business. It's not a passion project. Not when you're paying over $2 billion for something. It's not a passion project.
So he runs it as a business. Yeah. I don't know. I just worry, mate. I'm not overly worried, but I don't care who owns us. And like at the end of the day, I just wonder whether the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. Like I don't want some bloke coming in spending billions of dollars and all overnight we're buying trophies, because that's not what Arsenal's about. That's not what my love for the club is about. You know, if I wanted
I don't think he's got the money to do that anyway. But my position on it is, as I said, I don't think it can really be any worse. I think a lot of fans would be disappointed because they've built up a picture in their head of what it's going to be, and it won't be that. As I said, the players on the board is neither here nor there. I don't think it really means anything. The fan representation on the board, as I said, for me, I'm against that, because you're just going to end up with some idiot from probably the Arsenal Supporters Trust, who most of them are fucking morons anyway. Or you just, you know what I mean? You nominate one person to go on the board to represent the whole of a fan base. And 9 times out of 10,
okay. I'm okay with that. But when you've got all these,
I think it's nonsense. And then the thing is, that person spends a lot of time just trying to be famous, essentially.
Yeah,
and
true.
Like, to be fair, last week with the Kroenke conversation, so the guy from AST that was sort of seen as the lead is a guy called Akil, and I know Akil, and I get on well with him. I think he's a nice guy, but some of these questions, and I know a few people have taken him up on this on Twitter, and maybe not in the right way they question him, but some of these questions was like, you've got this one chance to speak to the owner. No one's been able to speak to him for how many years? And like, one of the questions, he basically just said, "You're a shit owner," and I was like, but what are you trying to achieve with that? Like, he can see the fucking process outside the ground. As I said, this is not, some people got personal with Akil, which isn't right. As I said, yeah, he's a nice guy and all this, but I just thought, what are you doing? Like, yeah, you're going to have people pat you on the back. Yeah, you called him a wanker, basically. He didn't, but you know what I mean?
Who cares? At the end of the day, you get nothing.
What's that achieved when you've got half an hour to speak to the guy for one time in 3 years? Like, what can he possibly
likely to speak? Is he likely to speak to you again in the future?
Well, that's the other thing. People go, "Oh, he never speaks," and then when he does, you're basically calling him a prick. Well, he's unlikely to come back. So, and as I said, Akil's one of the better ones. There's been other people in the past, and you're just like, you are literally just trying to be a celebrity. There was one guy, I don't know what's happened to him. I'm not going to name him. He used to get him on like Sky Sports News, Talk Sport, BBC all the time, and he was literally just trying to be famous. And pretty much every Arsenal fan was like, "This guy doesn't represent us. Why do they?" It's like, it happens a lot now. You get Robbie on from Arsenal Fan TV on all of the media.
Well, he was on Talk Sports with Ray Parlour, and mate, but okay, you go, but that was crazy. I thought.
No, he does it. This happens all the time, and this is nothing against him, but it's like, he doesn't speak for us as a fan base. And the difference is with Robbie, most people know that Arsenal fans don't really like Arsenal Fan TV. So people don't think he speaks for the fans. So when he says something, it's not like, oh, that's what Arsenal fans think. It's just what Robbie thinks. With these people before, because they were the head of the Arsenal Supporters Trust, it was like, oh, if he's saying it, that must be what the view of all of the Arsenal fans, or most of the Arsenal fans. And it was like, no, it's just this bellend trying to get famous. And these are the type of people that would be put on the board. They'd be given no power. It'd be a lip service role. But it's very difficult. How can you have one person represent the views of fucking however many Arsenal fans there are?
Yeah, it's crazy, and I totally see. I don't really want that at all, and this is the problem. When we're talking ex-players, and no disrespect, great players and probably great blokes as well. I can't say I know them personally on a personal level, but when I see Arteta, Edu, Righty, who else was there? Thierry and Bergkamp, and I think. There is, imagine. Well, I'm leaning a lot towards what Addy's thoughts are as well, and I was hoping he was going to be here today. I still maintain. I think that Arteta is probably not the best manager to take us forward, but he's doing a job. So I'm not Arteta out, as to say. I'm not like on that camp, but I'm kind of on the fence, really. But when you have them guys as your boss, is what I'm getting at, is do they ever sack the bloke because he's an ex-Arsenal player and he's an ex-Arsenal, an ex-Arsenal boss on the board? So where does it go? That I just don't understand that. You know what I mean?
That's another thing. They would almost certainly be on the board as non-executive members, which basically means non-decision making. So they would be consulted and probably swiftly ignored. But it seems like, we asked these guys. For me, just having ex-players on the board, it's just a PR move. That's all it is. Because as I said, what does Omri add to a board? And especially when you've got a sole owner, like this guy, Mr. Eck from Spotify, I think you should spend 200 million. No. Oh, okay. Or do you know what I mean? I think you should go buy Messi. No. Oh, okay. Game over. I honestly I don't get what they have.
Running the asylum. That's where I'm thinking.
It's not quite as bad as that, but it's.
Anyway, I've seen lots of people comment about it during the week, and lots of people, obviously are so desperate to see Stans back in, and I get that. I totally understand that, but I just reserve my opinion on what was the proposal as opposed to what we've got now. I don't think it's much better. I think if that was to happen, it's worse, and it probably doesn't even, as you said at the start, it probably doesn't even go ahead.
As I said, I don't think it happens, but I don't see how it could get worse. It's a weird one, because in the best interest of the club, if you want someone who's been involved with the club and blah, 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 to be on the board, in a capacity of a board member, the person you go to is Arsene Wenger, without a question of a doubt, because he basically ran the club from the manager's seat.
Yeah, anyway. Exactly.
But that's not a good PR move, because there's a hell of a lot of people that were Wenger out 3-4 years ago, however long ago it was. So it's like no one ever said Omri out, no one said Vieira out, no one said Bergkamp out. So they had a better PR move. And again, this is what makes me think, it's just not going to happen, because you're making PR moves rather than business moves. And also, it's funny, one media outlet keep going, Patrick Vieira's nailed on for the Palace job. Hodgson's gone because his contract's up. Vieira is going hard for the job. He's almost certainly going to get it. And then in the next article, they go, Vieira's really strong on this Arsenal consortium. And it's like, well, you can't own one club and manage another. Like, you can't be on the board of Arsenal and then be Crystal Palace manager. And it's like, it's just media are getting so tied up in things. It's, as I said,
Vieira, with his experience, he sees himself as a manager. So, and I dare say he's looking after his self-interest, which I would be doing. I worry about myself and my own family. I'm not worried about a club that I played with. So, and I'd imagine he has passion for it. But at the end of the day, if he does want to go ahead with this Arsenal deal, he's sitting on the board going, well, I could probably do a better job than that bloke managing.
That rule, as I said, if you're a board member, you'd be ruled out from being a manager, because then it does come to who stack you. And also, I mean, people go on about these players' passion for the club, and look, I'm not doubting any of their abilities, because they were probably 3 of the best players I've ever seen live in an Arsenal shirt. But Vieira was trying to get out for about 4 years. Omri didn't hang around too long, as in he spent his best years with us, but he was
Yep.
gagging for a move to Barcelona. The only
Yep.
one, I mean, Bergkamp was the only one that never tried to get out.
Hmm.
Like,
And then
only one that
when
got a testimonial.
well, who was that bloke that we Sven? You know, we thought that Bergkamp was going to do that job, didn't we? He
No,
was
not
doing
as
a
a
similar
scout.
role at he was doing. What's he doing at Ajax?
Yeah, it's Overmars as a technical director.
Overmars. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was Bergkamp. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, mate. It's just like I say. I just go back to. Well, I don't think it'll happen, but two, I just think just be a little bit reserved. You know, I know Stan's not the best owner, but you know, when you look at or you talk to Newcastle fans, and there's an owner that they absolutely hate, and I can see for what reasons, as opposed to what we've got. Anyway, let's move on.
Just before we move on, Sam Nichols hit the nail on the head in the comments. Doesn't this come from a continual perception that the fans feel disconnected from the club? Even a token gesture might make a proportion of the fans feel connected again. I completely agree, which is why for me it's a PR move, not a move of someone who's actually trying to buy a club.
Yeah.
But I think the comment is exactly right. It's like, look, if I own the club, I'm going to make you feel part of it again by bringing these people you worship back in. But then it's like, to do what? Like, what are these guys going to do apart from their name's going to be there so you can say, look, we brought your heroes back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's about.
If you're doing it for business, you bring Wenger back. But that's not a good PR move, because there's still a lot of people that blame him for the position we're in, which to me is mental, but that's just my opinion, and everyone's welcome to theirs.
Fucking listen to these fucking birds going.
I was going to say, has anyone got a fucking shotgun?
I am moving away from these two. I got fucking kids got two new birds, little budgie things, and all they fucking do is sit there and squawk all day. Fucking
Don't you have like snakes or spiders in Australia to deal with things like that?
Yeah.
There you go.
We got all that stuff. Fucking. Anyway, there's a couple of comments I was going to read out. That was it. Oh, Roberta says, "Hey chaps," and he just says, "Great points, chaps." He's obviously, yeah. Righto, let's move on. We have to talk about this Everton game. I didn't really want to, as you could probably tell. I didn't open with it, and it's not that I didn't want to. It's the fact that I think that now, I think the league's done and dusted. I think it's really going to be really hard in the next couple of weeks, Tony, to come up with a game, because a podcast on about the game, because I don't think our heart's in it no more. I don't know. Like, yeah. Anyway, you go, mate. Your thoughts on this game, and just start with a lineup like we usually do.
Yeah, I mean, I can't overly remember the lineup, to be honest. I'm in the same position as you, where I'm just like, it's gone. He's rotating. The intensity's not there. Look, they're still trying to win. They're not on the beach, so to speak, but they're not going hell for leather for it. And I make them right. And I've said on here that if you're going to with the position we're in, if you're going to focus on something, then you make it Europa League. What I find quite annoying, really, is fans that go, let's focus on the Europa League. All I care about is Europa League, Europa League, Europa League, Europa League. And then these are fans that tend to not like Arteta. And the moment anything goes wrong, we lose a game in the league, they're like, oh, for fuck's sake, Arteta out. And it's like, hang on, if you'd have gone full strength and won that game 4-0, you'd have been like, oh, I didn't rest players for Villarreal. Like,
yeah.
I don't mind people being Arteta out. And as I said, I'm not one of them, but I fully understand where people are coming from. But you can't just ask him to do something, and then when he does it, go, oh, fucking idiot, out. Like, just be consistent with your views. That's all I'm asking. And this is the reason that I always, whether it just be to you guys or in a group or to friends, when an Arsenal team news comes out, I always say my opinion when it comes out. Because then if we lose, like, you know what I mean? If I go, this team's fantastic, well done, and then we go and lose 8-0, I can't go, manager picked the wrong team, because I've already said, and I've now written it down publicly so people can see it, this is what I would have done. Like, or, I mean, the other way around, I'll go, this is shit, what's the manager player at? And we go and win 5-0. I've then got to eat humble pie. But it just annoys me when people, they want one thing and it happens, but then because it doesn't work, it's someone else's fault. No, this is what you would have done. But yeah, on the team, as I said, who fucking cares? Like,
I know, and look, it's like I said, it's going to be one of them next couple of weeks where we'll probably talk a lot about other stuff as opposed to the actual games, because it's just one of them. I just don't think. I think we've given up. Not given up, but just like.
No, I think the focus
boys
is on
are getting
something
the games.
else.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Eddie started up top. You know, Ceballos, Partey, Saka, Smith Rowe, Pepe, Granite. You know, he's last 3 games now has gone into that left back position, which I don't get that one totally, but
Well, yeah, I mean, it worked in 2 of the games, so he's kept it basically. In all honesty, I know we lost the game. I actually didn't think we played that bad, and I think on another day you could win that game easily. And as I said, it's remembering that Lacazette was out, Aubameyang was out, which that's where you're probably expecting your goals to come from. There was some questionable VAR decisions, as there is in football these days, and.
Yeah, you still haven't got that right over there, have you? Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's just, I mean, the only reason no one's speaking about that is because the West Ham decision was one of the worst decisions ever made in football ever, and that's overshadowed it. But yeah, I mean, it was just a joke, to be honest. The game, even the tempo of the game, you know what I mean? It wasn't like an end-to-end people smashing into tackles. There was no heat in the game, and the thing is, it's easier to down tools when fans ain't there as well, because fans probably don't let you get away with a lack of intensity, or just a noise of the crowd automatically ups the intensity. But it just is what it is. As I said, I don't think we played terribly. On another day, you probably win that game pretty comfortably, and still no one cares. You know what I mean? We could have won that game.
Yeah.
Imagine the penalty gets given and we win that 1-0. I would still be on here saying I don't really care. Like,
yeah.
Because I'm consistent with my views. Like, that's all it is.
I'm going to discuss. We have to discuss it. The goal against us. We lost the game 1-0, and possibly could have went to. It would have been a 0-0 draw. Could have went our way 1-0. Who knows? But I have to talk about Leno, because you have spoke about him in the past. You really haven't rated him. I have not. I don't know. I've given him a little bit of slack. I'm not. You know, he's the worst thing ever. But that attempt of a save for me is the most. It's just pure lazy goalkeeping. I've got no other words for it. It's pure laziness. And goalkeepers will know. Addy's not here today, but they would know that was very lazy from Leno. And
Addy blamed Arteta.
Wow, did he?
Yeah, I had to stop talking. Like, I obviously everyone hears me and Addy on here, and I respect his views, and he seems like he respects mine. But I had to stop talking when he said it was Arteta's fault. Because he because he picked Leno. That goal was Arteta because he picked Leno.
Yeah. Well, look, it's probably come to the time where start giving Matt Ryan a run, I think. But he's not getting any better, Leno. I'm sorry, he's just not getting. He's getting worse. He's getting worse. And you have a look at, I think, on those in Australia who get Optus Sport. We had. What would have been Mark Schwartzner? He was talking. No, it wasn't Boz. No. Anyway, I think it was actually on Optus Sports, and he was discussing that the leg between his gap. His whole positioning was in the wrong spot, and then he talked about the gap in between his legs and the V section. You know, that gap was always too wide from the start to the finish, and you've got to shuffle your feet over a little. And he was breaking it right down. And he basically said, similar to what I thought, is very lazy goalkeeping.
You didn't there were so many technical flaws, but they shouldn't matter. You should be hit with the way the ball came across at that speed. Bearing in mind, it wasn't even a shot on target. Like, the ball was going nowhere near the goal. You should be able to be as technically wrong as possible and still not make that mistake. Like, look, I am not saying he is, but if it came out that he was match fixing in that game, you'd go, yeah, I get it. And again, I'm not saying he is, but just a mistake like that can't happen. It cannot happen. Like, and I saw people trying to defend him, like, and whether they think he's good or not for that, it's just undefendable. Like, the thing is, my position on him has always been the same. I don't think he's very good. I think and I've said it on here loads of times, he's just not shit enough to be sold, but he's shit enough where he's going to cost you points often. And in a way, as much as I never want Arsenal to lose a game, if we are going to lose the game, I want it to happen in that fashion, because it makes people realise we're not going to do anything with this guy in goal.
Tony, he was all right. I don't get it. Like, well, I guess maybe I wasn't watching him as closely, but I never noticed, like, oh, shit, I never said, like, when Arsenal bought Leno, I didn't go, oh, he's absolutely shit. Like, Lichtsteiner. Like, I was straight up, mate. I cannot see that signing. But with Leno, I was like, he's pretty good. He's a pretty decent keeper, from what I've seen. But now I'm watching him week in, week out. Jesus.
He cost us more points than he saves us. Like, I had people telling me when I said he was shit after the game, oh, you're just being reactionary for that mistake. I was like, you're not listening to me for 3 years. I've never rated him. Like, he can't kick, he can't catch, he doesn't command the area, he makes a worldie every now and then, but then he costs us more points than he saves us. Like, that's what. And someone was like, oh, but he's made a lot more great saves than he's made mistakes. And I was like, name them. For every great save you're going to name, I can name a mistake, and that's just off the top of my head. Like, and then someone else said, oh, but he did make a really good save early in the game. I was like, give me a break. He made one save in the whole game, and any competent keeper from any professional keeper should be saving that. I'm not going to start giving people credit for doing the very basics of their job. Like, okay, if you want to like him, fair enough, but let's not make things up. Like, it was the most basic of basic saves. It's like fucking praising someone saying they're great finishing because they scored a tap in. Like, like, no one came off the Fulham game and went, fuck me, Eddie Nketiah, what a finisher. Like, he scored from a yard. I expect him to score from a yard. If he misses that, he's a cunt.
Now, you brought up Eddie, and we did sign the young bloke during the week on a long contract. So, where am I going? Why didn't he start over Eddie? Balogun.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't even in the squad. He was there, but he wasn't in the squad.
Yeah, I thought something may have been up. Like, he might have been a little injured. I thought, hang on, you've announced this massive signing. Like, well, let's say not massive, but extended contract. What a lot of Arsenal fans were saying, right? We were reportedly told during the negotiations we want to see him start more first-team football. You've got Aubameyang signed on a contract. You've got this young kid signed up on a contract. Lacazette's still up in the air. And Eddie, I'd imagine, is up in the air. Like, I'd imagine he's going in the summer. But yet you start Eddie.
Well, look, I mean, Balogun's re-signing wasn't announced till 4 days after. I mean, as far as I know, it was already done, but I was told it was done last week, but they didn't announce it because of the Super League stuff. But officially, it wasn't announced until after the game anyway. And also maybe it's more to keep Eddie's market value up if they're trying to sell him in the summer. You got to remember that Gabby was also on the bench and didn't start, who could have started. In all honesty, I thought Eddie had an half all right game. I think the guy's terrible, but I thought he played pretty well, to be honest. Not pretty well, just okay. He wasn't bad. But yeah, fuck knows. I mean, it looks like Balogun's going to be in the squad for Thursday. Looks like, but we'll see. He won't start. And let's be honest, he's untested at this level, so we don't know. He might not be ready.
Oh, yeah. I know. I get that. But I just, like, I haven't watched much of the kid. I've seen a couple of YouTube clips. I think I've seen one or two games maybe where he's come on, but that's about it. I haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of him, so I can't sit here and say, well, he's great, brilliant. I got no idea. Till I watch him week in, week out consistently, then you get a bit of an idea. But yeah, good. I guess they tell me it's a good signing and it's good to extend his contract. So I can only go on what people say, and I'm happy.
Well, Smith Rowe next. That's the big one.
That's the big one for me. Smith Rowe, Saka, he's on long term now, isn't he?
Yeah, this time last year, pretty much.
Yep. So Smith Rowe, he's the next big one to get in, and then I'm really happy because Smith Rowe, I think he's definitely one for the future.
It's
do you want to do a three?
It's
Do you want to
only
do a
been
3, 2, 1?
2 or 3 years. I feel like we should do, but I can't really remember the game because I was like a bit half-assed. So I remember thinking Danny was okay again. I think he's been good in the last few games. He's doing the exact same as he's done last year, where it was like no one wanted him, and then after lockdown, he was good pretty much every week, and was like, oh, that'd be good to get him again. And this year,
I wrote down Party. I wrote down, and this was when I watched the game. It's solid game by Party. So
yeah, as I said, I can't. I feel like we should do a 3-2-1, but I would just be making names up because I really can't remember.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do my 3-2-1 on what I wrote down when I watched the game. I've gone Party 3, Ceballos 2, and I've gone Rob Holding 1.
Yeah, as I said, I remember thinking Danny played well again, but again, the thing is with Danny is because it's the opposite of what he's been for a long time. But I can't. I'd give Smith Rowe 3 because I like Smith Rowe, not because he was the best player on the pitch, because I can't remember.
No, that's
can I give like Leno a -20 or something?
Actually, give me a look on that app. What they give him on the scores here. Hang on.
Probably not too low because it's one mistake.
That was a 3.5.
What, out of 10?
Yeah. Well, I know, right? 3.5. Well, Granite was the best player. On our Party, 7.7. Granite, 7.4. There you go.
But do you know them algorithms get massively messed up when players play out of position?
Do they?
Because what they're expected to do. So, for example, Granit will get extra points because his passes are forward, but when you're at left back, your passes are much more likely to be forward than they are when you're in midfield. Because when you're at left back, everyone's in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, more people are in front of you. So them algo, not stats, them algo ratings often, I'm not saying it has in this case because I've not even looked at them, I've just heard what you've said, but they often get messed up when players play out of positions because, as I said, the expectations are very different.
Yeah.
Well, not lower, but it's different things. You know, you expect a left back to do different things to a centre midfielder, and they tend to rate them on the position they have the player where he should be, rather than the position they play in. So, as a left back, I don't think Granit played bad, but just as a left back, he didn't get forward, he didn't help the attack, and he got beat for the goal. I'm not saying the goal's his fault. He didn't have a good game as a left back, but he would still be rated on what a centre midfielder should do on them algorithm things.
Okay, I'm with you.
So as I said, it would have been, look how much his passes are all progressive because they're all forward. But
all going
as I said,
forward,
they've basically got to be forward when you're left back, or then you have much more options.
Yep. No, I totally understand.
That's how them things tend to work.
I'm just going to go through a couple of things. So back to MAA Gunner early in the pod. He says Willian isn't ambitious. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And then Roberta, he's asked a couple of questions. Tony, do you like Arteta?
Yes, I do. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he's the best manager in the world. I can see good things that I would like to have an opportunity to develop. And I'm not one of these stubborn people that if we're in the same position this time next year, we'll still be saying, I think Arteta should still be there. But I think at the moment, I would like to see some of the things develop. And I'd also, I mean, this season's been such a mess. If you think at the start of the season, if you'd have said who's going to score our goals, it would have been Aubameyang, who's been
Yeah.
malaria, he's had injuries, and he's never really missed games for us until this season.
I can't remember, but I think I went golden boot Aubameyang.
Yeah, and a lot of people would have done, and then you've got Partey. People would have said, "Oh, who's going to be our best player?" And he's one, not lived up to expectation, and two, he's spent a lot of time out of the team. There's just look, and this is not. I'm not making excuses. It's just how it is. We've been playing every 3 days. Sorry, there's been no time to really work on things on the training pitch. I think our defense looks better, although in recent weeks we have conceded more, but we've conceded more to individual error, which is never nice. But for me, in a way, it's a good thing that the system's working, and if you can iron out or replace the players that keep making the errors, then you should be in a better place. We looked like we couldn't create a thing up until Christmas, and then since Christmas, I think we've been quite creative. Even the games we lose in, we like.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
so look, again, I'm not trying to say he's perfect. He's the only man for the job, and I would pick him over anyone else in the world. No, but I'm happy with him. I like him at the moment. I don't say I'm happy with him. I like him at the moment, and I would like to give it a chance to develop.
When before Arteta's appointment, a lot of Arsenal fans, and I think including myself at the time, was saying maybe a bloke like Mourinho was, a good bloke to kind of get the deadwood out and get us moving forward for a year or two, maybe 2 seasons. Sign him up. I've definitely changed my mind now on that, but I wonder whether those who are Arteta out, I wonder whether they're leaning towards that again, because I don't think that deadwood needs fixing anymore. It's fixed.
Well, there's no chance people would say that, but also no one ever admits to their previous mistakes, which is what's annoying with the internet generation. But also, if you think that people wanted Mourinho, the reasons would have been he'll clear the deadwood, he'll win a trophy, and he'll fix the defense. They would have been the 3 reasons. Yeah, Arteta's won a trophy. He's got rid of all the high earners, and the defense is undoubtedly better. I know we've been worse in the last couple of weeks, but the defense is definitely better. I read, was it before the Everton game, that I know games are 90 minutes, but we had the best second half defense in the league. It is funny because I remember Schwinn saying a couple of weeks ago, we always seem to concede late goals, and I was shocked the stat come up that in the league we had the least second half goals conceded.
Well, there you go.
Who did? City didn't play, so we're now joint with City on that because we conceded 1 in the second half.
Conceded 1 last week,
so we're joint least. But so I think all of the criteria that people wanted from Mourinho, the people that wanted him,
Arteta has done it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. My thing with Mourinho was I hated Emery that much. I wanted anyone but Emery. I think I even said on here I would prefer my nan to Emery, and that was the position I was in. So it wasn't a pro Mourinho. It was I would have taken him because he's not Emery. My hatred for Emery knows no bounds. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting. I now he's obviously available. I just wondered whether people are leaning down that path because he has won trophies, and some rate him as probably the best manager in the last, let's say, probably decade, I guess. I don't know. I don't want him, but it was just I know everybody was prior to signing Arteta.
I don't think there's a single Arsenal fan that would want him.
Yeah, cool. Roberta, how much could you get for Leno? I don't think he's going anywhere, but
I don't know about in value, but an extra 10 points a season with a decent keeper.
And he also says Granit was solid at left back.
I know. I think he typed that when I made the point that he got beat a couple of times and he didn't attack. As I said, I was making a point in terms of for the algorithm. I didn't say he played bad. It was just that as a traditional left back role, it wasn't what you expect to see from a left back.
Okay, well, we're definitely not going to go into 2 hours this week because, just is what it is. We're wrapping it up. But I am going to. I asked a couple of questions.
Got some stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, I've just jumped onto it now. There's some questions from people on Twitter, so we'll go to that now. Sugar Daddy Clay, He says, "What a shit show of a week. If KSE sells, will the new owner really be better?" So going to a point that we made earlier. I would also like to know who you'll prefer to see take ownership of KSE shares. And he also says, does Maitland-Niles still have a future at the club with Mikel as manager? Is he good enough to start in the midfield? Thank you. You want to break any of that down first? The first section. Well,
I think we've done
touch on
the KSE stuff.
Yeah. Who would you want as the owner though? Like that was one he did slip in there.
Well, look,
who would you prefer to take over?
To be honest, you've got who would I prefer? Me, but I don't have that kind of money. So you've got to look at your options, and the two options we know of. I mean, one, I don't believe either of them. I think the Daniel X stuff is more believable than the Dangote because it's recent, but I still don't believe it.
Yep.
So of the two, I mean, my answer is whoever would be willing to do it, which I don't think's either of them. And I can't say who's a preferred owner because I can't just start naming Saudi princes who got billions who have absolutely no interest in running a football club. I mean,
who was the Saudi mob who were looking at Newcastle United? But
I don't know. I don't think they ever gave a name. I think it was just a Saudi prince. There's so many. I don't know. I don't want to speak too much out of turn, but they have so many princes and people of high power in them, in like places like Saudi and the UAE. Like, so it's hard to know. I don't really know how their system works. As I say, I don't really want to speak out of turn, but because I know there's one Saudi prince that's massively into boxing. And that's why they keep getting loads of big fights. They're all going to try and get big fights. But then, as I said, there's just princes all over the place. And there's also, so one of my friends is from Dubai, and he was saying that they're all so rich that they just have like power trips with each other. So one will go and buy one thing, and one will try and outdo that by buying something else. And it's like they're just trying to get one over on each other. But yeah, I can't answer who I want to buy the club because, as I said,
a mate of mine who's Newcastle United's fan, he said, geez, it'd be good for you boys to have someone like that. And I'm like, well, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I mean, but it's I don't know. As I say, I don't know who it is, and I don't know how much they're worth. But I'd assume it's a hell of a lot of money. But it seemed they wanted to buy Newcastle because it was relatively cheap with a big fan base, and they'd be able to grow the business very quickly. Whereas, obviously, I think, say, for example, I don't know the numbers, but Newcastle would have probably been available for around 400 million, and Arsenal are looking at 2 billion. So you're looking at 5 times the investment. And even if you're rich, you might not want to make that much extra investment. Also, you've got to remember that they got rejected by the Premier League. So, because they got rejected for Newcastle, then why would they get accepted for Arsenal or Man United or whoever else? There's been Saudis linked with Man United as well, to be honest, and someone else was linked with Liverpool. Can't remember who it was. Who was it? It might have been Saudis. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, these people are just getting linked everywhere.
You what do you want from an owner? More, you mentioned about ambition, but do you want that Man City kind of bloke who comes in and spends 500 million the first year, or even you could go Chelsea owner? He come in and he's constantly spending when they need it, the investment, as opposed to City just every single year they just seem to be throwing a shitload of money there. Or do you want a team that earns it? I suppose. Do you want a team that earns it, or do you want a team that just goes out and buys it?
Look, I don't think many people would sit there and. Well, actually, they would. I'm not. I don't want a sugar daddy, so to speak. Sorry, Claire. But no one's going to moan if it happens.
Yeah.
But
that's right. Yeah.
I'd like to be somewhere in between, and there's no. Do you know what I mean? That they invest when it's needed. I guess the modern Abramovich is the kind of the balance. You're right. When he came in, it was like, I'm just going to buy. But in recent times, they've been pretty. Yeah, I mean, and I know people are going to go, they spent 80 million or whatever it was on Havertz, but then they sold Hazard for like 110, 120, and So they've spent money, and he's shown ambition. And when they were bad, they had a year's transfer ban, and they come out of that transfer ban and brought Havertz. What's the idiot? Werner.
Oh, Werner. Oh,
Like,
as an E turn things around.
no, but obviously the owner's not to know that. The owner's asked to buy a
No.
player, and he does it. And they're talking about big moves for Chelsea this summer because they've had a good year. They've gone far in Europe, and they're being linked to some big names. And whether that's just paper talk, I don't know. But they've been linked to big names, and I don't want the Abramovich model of sacking managers. If I'm honest, that's the negative of that type of owner.
Yep.
But I guess if you're asking what type of owner I want ideally is, as I said, the modern Abramovich, not the 2005 Abramovich or whatever it was. But then, as I said, if someone comes in and does a 2005 Abramovich and he buys us this month, and in the summer we get fucking Haaland and Sancho, and no one's gonna go, oh fuck this guy. We'll be fucking delighted.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But you you did mention you don't want to manage a sack every season, like that's what he said. But it seems to work for them. It's so crazy how it
works for them.
Works. Yeah, I know. Like, it seems to work. I don't get it, but yeah.
And look, there's nothing to really say that's a bad model, but I think as Arsenal, especially for most of us, like I remember Bruce Rioch vaguely, I think, but I don't. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I couldn't have named the 11 players of playing. I was too young. So basically, my Arsenal support in life has been was Wenger for what 22 years.
Emery and then Arteta. So
but I'm used to that thing of having someone for a long time, and also for me when you look at Premier League greats, you look at Wenger and Ferguson, and Guardiola's now making his name for that, but he's now been here 5-6 years, same as Klopp. So I think when will Mourinho, I was going to say no Chelsea manager will go down in history, and maybe Mourinho will, but probably not. Like they've just started the Premier League Hall of Fame, and the first two people were Shearer and Henry. And when it comes to managers, Ferguson and Wenger are there before Mourinho, and whether people like that or not, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So I guess like in an ideal world, if I was playing a computer game of build an owner, it would be Abramovich of maybe the last 5 years, but without sacking managers every 5 minutes.
Maitland-Niles, does he have a future at the club? While Mitchell's there.
Unfortunately, I really like Ainsley, but unfortunately, I don't think so, because if he's going to refuse to play right back, which he seems to do on many occasions, it's not even that they would want him to play there, but like look at Granit. You say to him, play left back, cool boss, I'll do my best. Centre back, I'll do my best. Like Granit, go up front today, we're struggling. Okay, you need them people in the squad. Like, and even I know people hammer Aubameyang, but look at the Liverpool game. They've obviously said to him, you've basically just got to follow Trent Alexander-Arnold everywhere he goes. And people come out of that game saying Aubameyang was shit, and he was, but he'd done exactly what was asked of him. So I don't think, and as I said, I really like Ainsley. I think he's a really good player, but I think you need people to fight for the cause. I mean, look at Saka. What would have happened if Saka, they would have said to, like, who's now competent in 5 or 6 positions, if they'd have said to him one day, oh, can you go play left back? And he said, no, fuck that. Or like at the start of the season, he was doing okay on the left wing. I didn't think he was playing fantastic, but he was doing okay on the left wing. And then they said to him, I'll go play on the right. And he's been amazing. Now, for me, that looks like his best position. But imagine when they said, oh, can you go and play on the right? He's gone, nah, fuck that. I'm left footed. I'm staying here. Like, you know what I mean? You just can't have that attitude.
That happened with Chamberlain, didn't it? He didn't want to play out of position. Well, not so much out of position, but he wanted to.
He didn't want to be a wing back.
Yeah. How's that worked out for him?
Well, he's Premier League and European champion.
Oh, well. Yeah, true. I guess can't argue with it.
Look, the thing is, as I said, I wasn't involved with the deal, but I was very close to the deal because I used to work for his agent, and he turned down more money than what Liverpool offered because his aim was to play in centre midfield. So in a way, you've kind of got to respect it. Like it wasn't a money move. Chelsea offered basically double what Liverpool were paying him. but they wanted him to be wing back because it's under Conte. He was playing a 5. He wanted him to take Victor Moses' place because the season before Chelsea were playing a back 5 and they won the league. Yeah, the season before they won the league playing a back 5, and then we beat them in the cup final. And Victor Moses got sent off at right wing back, and they wanted Chamberlain to take that position, offered him basically double what Liverpool did, and he turned it down because he wanted to play centre mid. So, in a way, you've got to respect it, but that is going to signal the end. It is going to limit your options, and as I said, that's the problem with Ainsley. The difference is Chamberlain done that job when he was asked for us, whereas it seems like Ainsley's done it a couple of times, or quite a lot of times actually, but begrudgingly, because the stories are always coming out. In all fairness to Chambo, when he was playing there was never a story that he didn't want to play there.
Yeah,
it was only when he was leaving.
Yeah. KSC, it's Halls of Marble TV. He's been around for a while listening to the show. Time's up for you, Leno, surely. Everybody makes mistakes, but there are too many mistakes. Re-protest, this has to happen every game. Maybe for years. I'm considering seriously not to renew my membership or buy a new Adidas kit or even fly Emirates, as indirectly would fund us.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think some of them things are a bit far-fetched, but everyone's got the right to do what they feel is, as long as it's legal, is what they feel is a protest. I mean, look, I've never flown Emirates anyway. That's not a decision against against Fly Emirates. That's a decision on they don't go to where I fly to.
Not wearing the new Adidas kit, that would really hurt. Like if every Arsenal fan around the world said, "We're not buying this year's shirt," that, and I mean, like, that would hurt. But is the deal in place already?
Yeah,
like,
so it'd have to be done for like 3 years.
Yeah.
It'd have to be done for like 3 years to make too much difference.
Yeah.
And then
that would hurt Adidas, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with the Emirates. Their deal's in place for so long as well, as far as I know, that it wouldn't hurt them too much. The same with like people. The one that's quite common is people go, I'm going to go to games because I don't want to damage what I want to do, which is already stupid. But I'm not going to buy a drink or food in the concourse. And they're hired out, them things. So again, and they're probably hired out for 5 years. So you're only hurting the company at Arsenal's called Delaware North. You're only hurting Delaware North, and you might hurt Arsenal in 5 years when they go, well, we've not been selling anything, so we're not going to renew the contract, or we're going to offer you less. But it's what's the best way to hurt them?
Membership. If your membership's not there, like what? How many members have Arsenal got?
Yeah, see, well, this is where it's difficult because, as far as I know, and I might be wrong, the guy asking the question, Halls of Marble, is a Red member. Red members, they basically get fuck all. It's a token gesture, really. They get access to tickets before someone who's a non-member. That's it. It's the lowest level of membership. It's about £30 a year. But I guess there's so many of them that it probably makes up a lot of income.
It's your bread and butter. It's your bread and butter.
But then how many of them would have to give it up? There'd be loads. And then there's silver members that absolutely no one ever gives up. Just won't happen. They're like rock and roll shot and shit. They're near impossible to get. And then when you go down to season ticket holders, most of them ain't going to give it up. And look, I'm not going to give it up because I like going to football. And I'm sorry, but I always hate it. And I've had proper arguments with people about this before when they are, you don't care because like, it's always people that don't go to games that tell season ticket holders, you're not real fans because you've still got your ticket. Or the worst one is obviously when you've already brought it, so you pay for the season, and people are doing it like they say, boycott this game. I'm like, fuck you! I've already paid £80 for it. Like, give me £80 out of your pocket, and then I might not go to the game. And they go, oh no, I don't want to be financially out of pocket. Well then, fuck you. Stop trying to tell me what to do with my money.
You're only hurting yourself.
Exactly, but it's always people. Look, nothing against fans that don't go to matches because I know the minority go and the majority don't. But don't tell other people how to spend their money unless you're willing to go, okay, if you boycott, I will pay for your ticket. Because as I said, you're more than happy for it to hurt my pocket, but you don't want it to hurt yours. Like, shut up. Don't try to tell me what to do.
MAA Gunner, he says, do you think if there was more than an offer from one potential buyer Kroenke would consider? he could start some sort of bidding war between the Spotify guy and the African guy. Yeah, true.
He's always publicly going to say it's not for sale, and the first offer, no matter what the fuck it is, he was going to say no anyway. And they know that the rumors of the first offer being 1.8. I mean, it's verging on insulting, but they know that no, and he's going to say no anyway. So
yeah. They got a tactic up their sleeve.
Yeah, both sides have. Look, a bidding war is always good, but it's how it plays out. A better thing than someone offering market value for your company is two people offering market value for your company or your car or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it is you're selling.
Yep. MAA Gunner, just a judgment here. First half of the season, our losses were because we couldn't create anything. Agree. Get frustrated and move higher up the pitch. Then we get picked off on the counter since Christmas. Our losses are a mixed bag of bad finishing, individual errors, and referees.
It's basically what I said earlier when Roberta asked if I was an Arteta fan. It's basically what MAA said it a lot shorter, but that's basically what I was getting at.
Is Gabriel worth a try at left back?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've never seen him play there, and I don't even think he's their strongest centre back. So.
No, I guess the point is that he's a defender, so it'd be more natural than Granit, and he's more athletic. But his positional play is horrible. He wouldn't add anything going forward, and his passing out from the back isn't the best. When you're in the middle, you've got 180 degrees that you can play into, or 360 if you include going back to the keeper. Whereas if you're on the left, you've got a natural defender of the touchline, so that takes away. Pretty much all, like, it takes away at least half your passing options from the start, and his passing isn't great when he's got the whole pitch to play into.
I don't know what Schwinn's going here. He's asked the question: who is more left-footed, Pepe or Rodriguez? I'm not sure why he wants to know that, but
I think he asked it just after the game, and it's because James' right foot is for standing on exclusively. He had a fucking horror show.
Did he?
The one thing I remember from the game was James was fucking awful.
Yeah, right. I just take your word. Actually, he didn't stand out in me. My notes aren't his name there, so yeah.
He was probably the worst player on the pitch.
Yeah, he wasn't good. Yeah, I can't remember any individual stuff, but yeah,
he got robbed of the ball 3 or 4 times in quite dangerous areas.
Yeah, so he wrote. Okay, that's where he was coming from. That. Who else we got? Crovon, Cronky out. Hashtag Cronky out. Are we fucked? The question: are we fucked?
Not yet.
Mate, hang in there, brother. Hang in there. I know. I've seen a lot of people, with the Super League stuff, and last week, they even said they're going to boycott podcasts, and I went, oh, that's interesting, because that's us. And I'm like, but I don't understand what's happened. Like, is it just people are losing interest?
Well, no, obviously Arsenal pay you fortunes to do this podcast, and we're all so positive for everything to do with Arsenal. We all think Leno's brilliant, Arteta's brilliant, Kroenke's brilliant. So if they boycott us, maybe Arsenal will stop paying us. I think that's what they're doing.
Oh, okay. No, I did see it, and I seen a couple of threads floating around that, Arsenal fans are now boycotting podcasts because they're losing interest in the whole of Arsenal as a thing, and it was more after the Super League.
There's one thing you can never criticize Arsenal fans of, and that's losing interest.
Yeah, no, they're definitely in interest. Look, are we fucked? I don't know. Hang in there, brother. That's all I can say. We've got Newcastle United coming up, which I can't. I don't even know which way that'd go. If I'm a bet,
do you know what's crazy? You know what I'm like. I always know who we've got coming up and what. I mean, I assume Newcastle game is on Sunday because we're playing on Thursday. Well, I know it's on Sunday because we're playing back-to-back Thursdays. I didn't know if you
Sunday for me.
Yeah, it might be an early kickoff. That's what I mean. So
Okay.
usually I'm well on top of things, but now I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know he was playing Newcastle till you just said. I don't know the
Yep.
kickoff time. Whereas, as I said, you know what I'm like. Usually I'll be like, we're playing
Yeah,
them at this
We're
time,
playing them,
and
yeah.
just like so. We've got Villarreal on Thursday, and that's the limit of what I care about.
That's where I'm at. That's the game where I'm interested in. Like, I'll be honest, Newcastle game. We'll touch briefly on it next week's show. We'll talk Europa League, obviously. Yeah, I can't even tell you what's coming up. Obviously, we've got West Brom. I don't really care about. Chelsea will be an interesting game because my young bloke goes for Chelsea, so I like to win that if we can.
Put him up for adoption.
Crystal Palace. It was fun, quite funny actually. I texted him this morning because he also follows Real Madrid in the La Liga, and I said, "Who are you going for today? Chelsea or Real Madrid?" He didn't answer me. So, Crystal Palace, I don't care about, and Brighton, I don't care about. So we're probably going to struggle for some content coming this back end season. But anyway, we'll find something to talk about. Shut up! Fucking Jesus. Okay, that's us, buddy.
Just says there's one more question on here from Sam.
Yep.
Respect the opinion on Arteta, but which pieces of the puzzle do we need to get in the next transfer window to make significant improvements to an Arteta team and style? For me, we need a keeper that's not shit. We need a right back because I think we're very lopsided in the way we attack. When at full fitness, we don't attack down the right, basically. Even with Saka there, and it's not combinations. It's kind of get the ball to Saka and hope. I actually think Chambers is playing because
replacement.
Huh?
That's a Bellerin problem.
Yeah. I mean, an absolute dream. You'd replace Leno and Bellerin. Yep. I think we need more options in centre midfield. Granit, and I don't know if Granit. I know me and you differ on this. I think Granit will be there, and he's kind of what Arteta wants, and I know you don't think that. But apart from that, I mean, you look at where we've gone wrong this year. It's been defensive errors. At the moment, they still haven't offered Luiz a new contract, but will someone come in, or will they just bring Saliba into that role? But I mean, it's difficult to say in names what we need for an Arteta team, but we need our finishing to not be as bad as it has. And I think the obvious answer to that is get Aubameyang playing through the middle more, because when he plays there, he scores goals. And look, we know it's not been his best year, but I'm not going to write him off because he's not had his best year. Where
are you at with Chambers? Like you were just about to mention him, but then I think I cut you off. So.
Well, no, I was going to say I actually think he's playing because his delivery's been good. In an attacking sense, I mean, it gives you a bit of an advantage at set pieces because he's taller. He actually missed a really good chance the other day. But his delivery's been good. His pace is good. Look, he's not a first choice right back. And is he the guy that sticks around to be the second choice right back, the second choice, not second choice, but like third or fourth choice centre back, and an absolute push, a third or fourth choice midfielder? Maybe he takes up the Maitland-Niles role, which is maybe what I think happens with him. But he's not a starting right back, and that's nothing against him. He's done well, to be honest. But yeah, as I said, to make an Arteta team more functional, as I said, I think we need less mistakes at the back and just not playing Gabriel really, or Leno or Hector, and then better finishing. And we can, as I said, we can see where that's going to come from. For me, I said this before, I think you keep Smith Rowe in 10. The left wing's a bit tricky because if you get Pepe on, he's been playing really well on the left, but then you need a poacher in the box because Pepe's going to go onto his left foot. If you bring Gabby in, then you need someone who you can bounce off in the middle. So it all depends what he decides to do. But I see the bones of a good team, and I guess that's maybe why I'm still happy or still have some belief in Arteta, because I think the bones are there.
Yep. That's my problem, I think. The bones are there, and he's not getting the best out of them bones. That's my little problem. Is I'm thinking and I look at Chelsea, right, and they had Frank Lampard, and he got sacked, and Tuchel's come in, and now I'm seeing Tuchel actually get the best out of his players. I guess like that Chelsea team I watched today. Would they have beat Real Madrid under Lampard? I think not. Where they drew with them, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's the difference.
In one sense, I agree. Well, I do agree with you that Lampard definitely would have. But then you look at that Chelsea team, and realistically, who would you swap? Like, so I hate these
good team.
Fake 11s.
Yeah.
I hate these. You know what I mean? Who would I pick? But realistically, you go through it, and Mendy's better than Leno. Whoever they're playing at right, I mean, I know they went back 5, but whoever plays, they've got 4 options at right back that are all better than Hector. Their centre backs are better than Holding and definitely Gabriel. Murray maybe would half get a look in, probably wouldn't, to be honest. Left wing back, KT is better than Chilwell, but KT is injured. So then you're looking at playing Granit or Cedric there. Are they better at left back than Chilwell? No. You look at midfield, Kante or Partey. I mean, Kante probably. Then who they play with? Okay, Jorginho. I prefer Xhaka over Jorginho. Some will, some won't. That's a 50-50 call. And then you go up top. Mount is playing out of this world at the moment. You don't pick many people over him. Who was the other one? Pulisic. I really rate Pulisic. Him and Saka, you could maybe say is a 50-50 who you pick. And then up front, Aubameyang or Werner. I think Werner's absolute trash, so I'd go for Aubameyang. But on this season, Aubameyang hasn't been very good either. So if you're being generous, you probably pick 3 Arsenal players there. So you can say, Tuchel's come in and got the best out of got his team improved much more from what Lampard has. And he has, but what he's got to work with and what Arteta has got to work with, and not, for me, they're not even in the same fucking category. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I totally respect that, man. I see exactly where you're coming from when you put it that way. I don't often look at comparison of them.
I hate them, but when you're saying, Tuchel's come in and done this, you kind of got to look at what he's got to work with.
No, I respect that totally. Sam just said quickly, not a CF.
Well, I want to at least maybe not a first choice, or maybe a first choice. It depends how we're going to play. I think we need a Lacazette that's maybe. I do think we need a striker, but someone that can offer something a bit different. I mean, everyone knows I've been talking about Danny Ings for a long time as a sort of cheaper option. There's Odsonne Edouard.
Slavia. I've seen us linked to yesterday.
Do you know what? He's been linked with everyone. I think he scored about 3 billion goals in their league this season. He's been linked with Chelsea. He's been linked with Leicester loads.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if he played against us. So do you know when you're hoping? Do you know like?
Oh, I don't think he did.
Yeah. So then what have I got to judge him on? Basically, because let's be honest, I think he scored. Did he score against Leicester in the second leg? But again, I think he did. But. Yeah. So I don't know, but I think we need a plan B basically. And look, had Aubameyang been fit and firing, we would have kind of half had that on Lacazette. But I just want someone who's a bit more reliable in terms of when he goes through on goal, you actually think they're going to score. As I said, I've said it for a long time. I think we could do a lot worse than Danny Ings, because Ings is a great finisher. He's not hold up, is not physical like Lacazette, but his link up play is very good. He's technically a very good footballer. Aerially, is there much between them? No. I wouldn't want to say who's better in the air out of them. And Danny Ings is quicker, more mobile, so he can run the channels. And as I said, Edouard is more physical, more hold up play. But yeah, you just need an alternative for me, and we need to try and not shoehorn them in together, because Lacazette and Aubameyang in a way are quite different and not opposites, but they could be an alternative to each other. The issue is we keep trying to fucking play them together.
Yeah, that's the problem, and leaving one out on the left or sometimes the right. Okay, I think that's it. We'll wrap this up. I just quickly though, before I go, I just want to give a couple of shout outs to a few countries around the world who listen to us, and which have basically shocked me a little bit. There's a couple in France, so shout out you guys in France. I see this bloke in Turkey every week, right? There's one listener. one listener in Turkey. So shout out to you, brother. And Austria, Sweden, Norway. Obviously, you Aussies are loving me. United States and United Kingdom. So a couple of shout outs to you guys on Spotify as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. You've been listening to the Clock and Talk, nice little podcast. We'll be back next week to discuss more of what's been going on. Cheers, Tony.
Cheers.
So here's